So big data with respect to accounting is traditionally text data, largely speaking. Now in other domains, there might be a lot of other data that researchers and practitioners might use, but in accounting, a lot of it is written down in text. Generally speaking, that's unstructured, which means that we have words, but we don't necessarily know exactly what information we want to extract from those words. So most of the information that comes out of an accounting system is either the face financial statements and then a significant amount of text like the notes, the MD&A, other sections of an annual report, conference calls, earnings announcements, etc. So there's a massive wealth of data. Most of it can be written down in words, and so largely speaking, big data in accounting is text. And in order to get a full picture of the disclosure environment, the information environment surrounding a firm in which the firm operates, that text needs to be analyzed in some fashion. And so that's kind of the role of machine learning in this, is analyzing that big data somehow and incorporating it into a worldview or a model of the firm. One concern when using machine learning in these settings is that is kind of a saying in machine learning is garbage in, garbage out. And the idea is that if you don't know what you're analyzing and you don't know how it's structured and how it's generated, then you are going to potentially run the risk of coming to false conclusions, because if your model doesn't fit the underlying, say, disclosure, then you're potentially going to be measuring the wrong thing. So you run the risk of potentially measuring the wrong thing and coming up with the wrong results, because what you've tried to study is not necessarily a good reflection of the information that's being disclosed or the environment in which it's being disclosed. Going forward with machine learning and big data, I see kind of two broad categories. On the one hand, we have existing models and existing approaches that can be augmented by more advanced techniques and larger data sets. So this is kind of taking what we understand about the world and what we've done before and improving upon it. But then I also see another potential future inroad for big data and machine analytics in better understanding how the actual world works. So we, in general, as researchers, come up with a model for what we think dictates some disclosure or the economy in general, and then we test hypotheses based on that model. Well, there's also a potential in big data and machine learning to generate a better, deeper, potentially entirely new model of how the world actually works and how the information economics functions in the current world. And so on the one hand, there's improvement on what we already have, and on the other hand, and what I'm kind of really excited about, is the potential to actually learn entirely new things about how economies work by using some more advanced techniques on bigger data sets. I think one of the big takeaways that I'm trying to get across is the idea of the tools and the data are incredible, and they could, form how we operate as an industry and as an economy in general. But I think that they should be taken with a very big grain of salt, because it's really easy to run afoul of things like overfitting or misusing data, measuring the wrong things, spurious results, this kind of thing. So while there are techniques and tools and approaches to try to mitigate that, it's definitely something where the domain expert, the accountant, at all times needs to be weighing in and making sure that the analyses and the data and the conclusions that are being drawn therefrom really map to our fundamental understanding of how accounting and economies work, as opposed to kind of running off in a direction because the data take us there, that kind of thing. So I think kind of an overarching message of excitement but caution, because there is a great potential for misleading results and for biases to be expressed in data. And if we're not aware of them, it has the potential to be maybe just as detrimental as beneficial.